MAI Bangkok Business Challenge at Sasin 2012. This year we are celebrating our 10th anniversary. The MAI Bangkok Business Challenge at Sasin is the only global new venture plan competition in Asia. My name is Kongpan Pramod Nayutaya and I will be your moderator for today. Before we begin, let me just give you a brief background of this year's competition. We had 55 teams, 23 countries from 6 continents submitted their summary business plan. Panel judges selected 16 teams to come here to Bangkok to present their new ventures to another committee of judges who will be acting as investors. The judges will be scoring based on the venture's business viability, and teams are competing for prizes worth over 140,000 US dollars. The judges have reduced the 16 teams to the 6 finalists that we're going to be seeing today, but only one winner will walk away with the most prestigious prize of all, His Majesty's the King's Award. The 6 finalists in order of presentations today are Lorax Energy from Cornell University, United States of America. Second team will be Flue Tubes from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. Third team, Corrosion Solutions from University of Oregon, United States. Fourth team, Drill Light LLC from Northern Institute of Technology Management from Germany. Fifth team to present today will be ENT Sim from Indian School of Business, India. And then the last team, Ecological Hollow Blocks from Asian Institute of Management, Philippines. So each team will have 30 minutes to make their presentations, during which the judges may ask questions at any time after 5 minutes have passed. The teams will receive 3 time notifications, one after 5 minutes to allow for the interactive session, then 3 minutes and 1 minute before the end. Please keep an eye on our beautiful ladies in the front here. Due to the interactive nature of the presentations, teams that have not made the presentation are not allowed to be present in the room. And for our guests, please show your consideration by turning off all your mobile devices and refrain from leaving the room during the session. ขอเน้นหน่อยนะครับกรุณาปิดเครื่องมือสื่อสารทุกชนิดและอย่าเข้าออกจากห้องตลอดเวลานะครับ Of course, the MAI Bangkok Business Challenge at Sasin 2012 would not be possible if it wasn't for the generous sponsorships from the Stock Exchange of Thailand, Kiat Nakin Bank, Tesco Lotus, and B Grim. So let me introduce our honorable judges today. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Mr. Chinit Chanchanarong, President of the Market for Alternative Investment, or the MAI. He's also the Chairman of the Judging Committee. Next to Mr. Chinit, we have Ms. Gopkan Wattanarangoon, Chairperson, Toshiba Thailand Company Limited. Thirdly, Mom Luong Waliwan Warawan, Executive Director, Sivikon Group. Fourth, Mr. Ashraf Fancy, Managing Director, In Season Foods Limited. Last but not least, Mr. Scott Bennett, Head of Asian Credit, Aberdeen Asset Management Asia Limited. So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to our first team, Lorax Energy from Cornell University, United States of America. So team, you're ready? Yeah? Sure. We'll start the clock as soon as you start. Good luck.
Good morning. My name is Lawrence Linker, and I'm the CEO of Lorax Energy. As the CEO of Lorax Energy, I manage a diverse group of young professionals dedicated to the repurposing of agricultural waste from the oil palm industry into clean, green, affordable, economical, renewable electricity. Today, we are here to ask you for $3.2 million US in exchange for a 70% equity stake in Lorax Energy. And we couldn't be more pleased and thankful to Sasin and to the market for the market for alternative investment for allowing this opportunity to state our pitch. Um, in a few minutes, I'm going to introduce you to our Chief Operations Officer, who is going to talk to you about our sustainable competitive advantage. I'm going to introduce you to our Chief Technological Officer, who is going to tell you about the nuts and bolts of how we generate electricity from biomass. And I'm going to introduce you to our Chief Financial Officer, who is going to explain to you how we're able to derive such outstanding internal rates of return from such an ultra-low risk investment. But before I introduce you to my team, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about how, and more importantly, why this company was formed in the first place. Before applying to business school and starting at Cornell, I was a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch. My investment philosophy focused me on those companies which provided the best-in-class solutions to the world's most serious problems. I made the transition from selling those solutions to creating them last summer when I worked for a small boutique private equity fund that invests in sustainable solutions in emerging markets. I spent my summer working with engineers and government officials and consulting groups in Malaysia, developing new techniques to promote the use of organic fertilizer made from oil palm biomass. While there, I began thinking about new ways to use that valuable biomass and new applications to generate value from it. I asked myself, how could oil palm biomass contribute to the solution of two of the world's greatest problems today that we're facing? Number one, the rapidly increasing need for energy, especially in emerging markets. And number two, the world's, to stem the tide of climate change that has been happening because of greenhouse gases. So I started doing some research, and here's what I found. Despite a media focus on wind and solar energy, biomass energy is actually the most popular and most commonly used form of renewable energy in the world today. The reason for that is trifold. Number one, biomass technology is time-tested. It's been around since the days of the Industrial Revolution. In fact, biomass power plants pretty much mirror the coal-fired power plants that provide electricity to most of the world today. Number two, biomass power plants are relatively to other forms of renewable electricity cheap. That means that with the lower capital expenditures, we can see, as investors, a faster return on our money and a better return on our money. Finally, biomass power plants have one major source of advantage over wind and solar energy. Wind turbines only function or are able to generate electricity when the wind is blowing. Solar panels are only able to generate electricity during hours of unimpeded sunlight. This requires both of these technologies to use extremely expensive and technologically fickle electricity storage mechanisms in order to provide electricity to the grid when it's needed most. Biomass, on the other hand, naturally acts as a battery, storing energy in the material so that you can use it when it's needed. That means that biomass power has the potential to be the answer for renewable electricity that the world needs today. Upon this realization, I formed the Lorax Energy team with a single mission: to form an outstanding investment opportunity supported by a low-risk, cash cow business that could form a platform in order for us to build further sustainable energy solutions using biomass throughout the world. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Christian Shoemaker.
Thank you, Lawrence. As Lawrence mentioned, my name is Christian Shoemaker. I'm currently the Director of Operations of Palm Organics Global, based in Johor, Malaysia. Now, I met Lawrence this summer working for Palm Organics, and I was extremely excited when later he asked me to join Lorax as the Operations Director, because I have been working in this role in Southeast Asia for the last 2.5 years. So I'm here to tell you why palm oil waste is the reason, why is the feedstock that we're going to use. The first is volume. Now, anybody who's been to Malaysia has seen the sheer plenitude of palm plantations that there exist there today. In fact, there's over 4 million hectares dedicated to this industry. These hectares create 20 million tons of waste annually. This is because the palm tree, once it reaches 25 years of age, loses its economic viability. Now, the plantations need to clear these trees and make ways for new trees. They do this in two ways. First, they push the tree down and leave it to rot in the field. This creates a serious problem for the plantation, as the rotting trees attract pests such as the rhinoceros beetle, which is a thorn in the side of the palm industry today. Second, and far more dangerous, is the burning. This happens even though it's illegal, because it's very easy and cheap for the farmer. Now, obviously this creates a lot of problems environmentally, such as the Southeast Asian haze, which all of us have experienced, as well as a myriad of respiratory problems for the people around these plantations. So what does this mean for us, Lorax? A low price. We've all heard it. Waste means it's cheap. But for us, it's a special case. Right now, plantations are actually paying people to go there and clear them. First. Second, plantations have to deal with 3 types of waste. The first is the actual fruit from which the oil comes. This is where they're focusing all their energy today. They're putting money, time, and effort into taking profits out of this waste. The second is the actual leaves from the tree. And the last on the radar is the stem. We're talking years out. Now, we have all this biomass in this tree that's readily available for Lorax. So what do we need to do to make it into energy? First, we need to shred it.
Hi, I'm going to cut you off right
Go
here.
ahead.
Just some of the numbers you mentioned that there's 20 million tons of palm oil trees which are wasted each year. And so I did some math on what you would need for your business. And basically, you mentioned 672 logs, I'm assuming 365 days. That works out to 200,000 tons, which is about 1% of the number you used.
Correct.
Which is good. In that sense, it's a very small number. However, with your fleet of 43 trucks, you're probably looking to get the trees from within a 50 or 100 kilometer radius of your power plant. What percentage of those trees would you need? Obviously, it's higher than 1%.
Yes, we actually can talk about that later in the presentation, I believe.
No, do it now.
Do it now? Okay.
Sure. So to just address that real quick, we would be locating our plant in Johor at a site that we selected. We can actually show you the slide if you want to go to the appendix. And the reason that we chose this location is specifically because of the high concentration of older trees that are there.
But actually, it will be deprived. You run out of trees, or run out of the supply soon. So have you considered the logistic cost into your operation?
So the costs that we have calculated for you here are based on retail numbers that are, what's the word for this? They're actually brought to us. So for 15 ringgit per tree, people will actually bring the trees to us. So the opportunity to, taking responsibility for transporting the trees would be an opportunity to reduce costs. This is a worst case scenario is what I'm trying to say.
But what is your business model? Do you sell that shredder or do you sell electricity?
We use the shredder to sell electricity.
So the business is to sell electricity,
That's right.
but you have a better shredder than others or something.
That's right.
Could you go through the shredder thing?
Yes, I can move on to the shredder. So the reason we need this particular shredder is because currently in the industry, the shredders that can shred palm trees can only do so at a rate of about 1,000 kilos per hour. Now, our patented shredder, which we have allowed Lorax to use, can do this 17 times faster. I'm allowed you to take a look right now. In under 2 minutes, I can take an 8-meter tree and turn it into that. That's our distinct competitive advantage. No other competitor would be able to do the same thing as we did unless they either buy 17 machines off the shelf or develop technology which would take time and money.
Efficiency.
You mean the overall efficiency of the power plant?
What is your conversion efficiency of your raw material into energy?
The overall efficiency of the power plant is 32%, right? And
No, I'm talking about coal has a certain conversion efficiency. Other fuels have certain conversion efficiencies. So many tons give you so. What is The reason why I'm asking is, have you done any experiments where you mix in something with that to improve your electricity yield?
Yes. We are doing this business model based only on the biomass. Now, the biomass has about 4,000 kilojoules per ton. This is pretty standard in the industry. It's about 75% of the average of coal. So now the cost of that is only 25%, which is what gives us our advantage. Not only that, we have done some testing, although it's very preliminary at this point, of mixing different waste in order to get different caloric values, but there's a lot of factors to consider. For example, ash content. If you mix another product, another waste that gives you a really high caloric value, that can actually be a detrimental in the end if the ash content is too high and you end up having to do a lot more maintenance on your thing. So biomass presents for us a good opportunity to use, but we can definitely further develop this if we want to use other waste. Okay, should I continue? So as I was mentioning, this gives us our competitive advantage. We have a machine that is very fast and very efficient. Now, I would like to pass the mic on to my technology officer to explain how we're actually going to make energy out of this biomass.
Thank you, Christian. My name is Lorax. I'm an engineer. I have previous experience in designing a biomass power plant. I'd like to show you how our operation is going to carry out using a biomass power plant to generate energy. Now, the biomass will be loaded into the combustion chamber furnace, which produce heat. The heat will be used to boil the water in the boiler. The steam produced.
Sorry, a little louder, please.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that the biomass will be loaded into the...
Excuse me, may I interrupt a bit? I understand you're trying to explain the whole process, but can we hear the very short, complete business model? Okay, starting from palm oil, stem, making biomass, making electric, how do you sell, so that we can see the whole picture of your the whole business model before you go into the detail on how you produce electricity and how you shred the, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Absolutely. So we source trees, 25-year-old waste trees from the local oil palm plantations. We pulverize them, we burn them in a plant that's very similar to a coal-fired power plant, and we sell the electricity that we produce to the Malaysian government through a program that they have set up specifically for small renewable energy providers.
Is it being subsidized by the Malaysian government?
The feed-in rates that we receive are enhanced to incentivize small producers like ourselves, yes.
Okay. So when you look at the capital structures that you put on the top here, you are the sponsors, correct?
Yeah, that would be correct.
You be the sponsors.
Yes.
And investors take 70%. That's part of the offering.
Yes.
Who is running the whole thing?
We will be.
You'll be running the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's just strange because as sponsors, you're offering us 70%. Isn't that a little bit too much to give the investors from the first round?
Well, basically, we have to make sure that we correctly incentivize people to do it. Not only that, but POG is also going to be one of our key sponsors. So with regards to 30% and 70%, believe that if we were to go in any other direction, then the scales would tip it the other way. As in, there wouldn't be enough to be able to generate the impressive IRRs. Now, if the IRRs were to go down, then obviously we can take more. So we are now targeting a IRR of 62% by year 5. If we were to go 40, 60, that number would go down to 50-something%. So it all comes down to a negotiation between the eventual investors and then us. But this will be the baseline starting scenario that we are going to present, after which discussions will start after that.
Now, if I'm the investor taking 70% and this thing doesn't go around, I end up running the whole place as a majority shareholder.
That is your prerogative because you do have voting power. Yes.
But then the risk is high. we're just looking from the very first question the gentleman was asking was, even Kun Gopgan was asking, was the logistic of the raw material. You talk about your shredding technology, which is good, you can do it faster, but the raw material distribution to your power plant, is it enough within the area? Because that's cost.
Oh yes, we definitely.
At Palm Organics, which is where we are proposing to set up this plant near, we are currently taking trees in at 15 ringgit per tree. So we feel that the surrounding area within 100 kilometers has enough trees for the next 16 years for us to be able to do that. The plantations clear on average 5% of their total state per year. That goes into the 25-year cycle.
That's 245,000 trees you need a year. You need 245,000 trees a year.
That's
based on
correct,
those numbers,
yes.
Exactly. And that would be what percentage of the trees within 50 kilometers?
That would be. I think that would be about 30%.
Yeah, 20 to 30%.
20,
yes.
30%, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I thought that you'd have to pay for the fleet of trucks yourself, 43 fleets, but you mentioned before that the customer delivers the trunk.
Yes.
And they're paid $5 or 15 ringgits each. Does that even cover the fuel cost? Because I think one truck would only take one tree because of the weight of the tree.
Actually, we did the math, and average, if we assume the average weight of a tree trunk to be 750 kilograms, each truck can take up to about 18.
A small truck
trees.
can take
Yeah.
18. A big truck can take up to almost 40 trees.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the current operations of Palm Organics that they're currently doing right now. This is their numbers for their business right now. So it is actual spot market prices, current events that's happening. Well, okay. So
Have you made any arrangement or study in terms of how to get the raw materials?
I'm afraid I don't understand your question.
Is there any sort of pre-study or real arrangement, or only you study from the number on how to get the raw material into your plant?
We were
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Palm Organics has had contracts before with Felda up in Ipoh, which is in the northern part. We have also had Wilmar over to our factories, which is a big oil producer, and we have also had Felda over to our factories. So we have the inroads to do that, but since the Lorax team has not been on site, we have not actually started the process of talking to these people, but we plan on engaging them in long-term contracts in order to secure our feedstock.
Leveraging off the relationships POG currently has with them, which is going to be our bedrock, which is why they're such an important investor for us, sponsor for us.
Any particular local government officials or any local godfather or godmother in that area that you know, or you know that will not make this project possible because they won't allow the farmers or the plantation to send the raw material to you?
We do not know any individual godfather figure, but we do intend to approach the big plantation owners who do have a concentration of supplier power with this idea. Because if we can get them on board with this, then they will be incentivized to not squeeze us or disrupt our supply. Not only that, but the big boys would also have political connections. That's one. Two, alluding to political connections, needing to push this through means that we're taking something away from someone else, hence the need for power. Right now, we're clearing waste. The tree trunks are rotting there, making pests. We're not taking something away from someone else. Once the Malaysian or the entire palm oil industry has moved over to figuring out what they want to do with the trunks, because as Christian mentioned, they're right now at the fruit stage and then they go to the leaves, then we will be already in a position to take advantage of the current existing relationship with the big boys, which we have been doing business with for 16 years already. And it takes a long time to build trusted relationships. Hence, a very long duration is needed for us to build this kind of relationship. So no singular godfather, but we're hoping a company becomes our godfather. Well, okay. So I will carry on at this point. Thank you. So The debt will be 60%, as you can see, equity 40%. We've gone through this already. We believe that this is going to be a low, the risk is going to be low through diversification for the equity investors simply because we're going to be accessing the capital markets through the debt section. It will form a solid cash cow, leading to leverage returns of 62% by year 5. Now, we have identified the risks. We've already touched upon this, the Godfather. So another political risk could be the government simply reneging on the contract because of a regime change. They don't honor contracts between A and B. Usually, this would be a major concern for us. However, we don't think that this is going to be a major concern for Malaysia, in particular for this business, simply because there has already been a precedent renewable energy program that has survived regime changes. I'm specifically talking about the small renewable energy program that was started under Mahathir's rule in 2001. It has survived 2 prime ministers and was only finished at 2011 under Najib. That was the predecessor to SEDA's current FIT program. So Malaysia has been committed to a renewable energy program throughout regime changes, and we believe this will go through in the future as well. Second thing is supply power. Again, big boys, they will want to squeeze us, and this is very important because it affects our margin directly. We are going to be applying for a program that has fixed revenues, fixed price, fixed revenues for a set number of years, so the big factor will be costs. If we get squeezed on the margins, then the returns will be lower as the years go by. The only way to get around this, we feel there are 2 ways, is to engage the big plantation guys so they have no incentive to squeeze us. Second will be to engage or expand into the clearing business ourselves, but right now we have to do more research into that avenue and make the qualitative assessment whether we want to expand our core competency from creating energy into clearing tree trunks. So to summarize, why is Lorax Energy such a fantastic opportunity for us? So these are the investment highlights, the 3 R's. Revenue, our revenues are solid. Solid by, I mean that the government is our customer. They have no history of reneging on renewable energy contracts, and it is a 16-year enforceable contract. We have to sign a power purchase agreement with them. Here's the additional benefit. Not a single investor has to put any money down before the power purchase agreement is signed. So there's no money on the table, no risk whatsoever. All we need is the promise or the letter indicating of promise in order to move forward with the program. Once we apply for the program and the power purchase agreement is signed, then we start breaking ground and the money starts flowing. Our revenues are also low risk and steady. Because why we're getting into the feed-in tariff program of Malaysia, subsidized rate, 31 ringgit cents per kilowatt hour. It is fixed. We're going to generate 10 megawatts. We're not going to upgrade the power plant willy-nilly. So it's going to be generating 8 million USD per year. Our resources are our trees, which are right now a waste, so they're going to be cheap. We get in now. We're going to be able to lock in a contract that is long-term, keeping those prices down. Second, we only need 1%, as we've calculated already, less than 1%. So we don't think that we're going to be such a market force that we're going to move the prices. And finally, we don't believe there's going to be price volatility because we're going to lock in the contracts anyway. Also, if we engage the big boys, they have no reason to affect us in terms of the cost of raw materials. Finally, our returns. Who will want to invest in a return that is 60+% by year 5? At this point, thank you. And I'd like to open the floor to further questions.
May I address your technical person a little? It seems your raw material is cheap, although the conversion into energy is not as efficient as other techniques in biomass. Have you considered, because from what I saw on the video, you have a very nice shredded palm tree. Have you considered alternate uses of this as part of your investigation, like particle board or whatever?
So we are considering, so I want to address, I think there's 2 parts of your question. I'd like to address both of them. First, about the efficiency. We intentionally use a low efficiency method simply because higher efficiency methods like pyrolysis or an anaerobic digestion, the capital costs go up a lot. So in our case, having extremely inexpensive feedstock financially it makes more sense to just throw more feedstock at the problem than try to extract every last drop of energy out of the material. So to the second part of your question, we have considered other uses of the materials, and again, we made the intentional decision to go for the low-tech option because we want to we want to get our product to market as fast as possible. However, we are working with this is a slide from a company that we're in talks with that would like to develop cellulosic ethanol from oil palm biomass. The technology, the gentleman who's making this, he can make it in his garage. So the technology exists. Can it be scaled up and turned into a profitable business? Nobody has been able to do it so far. $300 million plants all around the world have failed. So until we see, I think until we see that the technology is economically viable, we're very comfortable sticking with the technology that we've chosen.
I think it relates to my questions also. You haven't talked about competitors. The competitors not only in terms of the biomass, but also the competitors in terms of the usage of the palm tree in other form of business, for example, maybe into furnitures, into some other things. So therefore, the supply, I come back again. I have heard a lot of the biomass project that fail because of the supply. Because of the supply. In the beginning, everyone will think that you have a lot, you have that kind of thing. But then there will be another business coming, and you have to compete with them. And then you have to buy at higher price. So therefore, please explain to me whether you have considered this kind of risk
we
from
have.
competitors.
This is the primary risk that keeps us up at night. And the reason that we feel confident moving forward with this business is for three reasons, most of which I hope that we've tried to address a little bit. But number one, the palm stems themselves are the last thing that people are thinking about. All sorts of applications are coming up for the empty fruit bunch and for the palm fronds. But for most of what people want this material for, the 25-year-old logs is not ideal. It doesn't have as high of a nutrient value. It doesn't have as the characteristics that they're looking for. For us, it's perfect because it's dense, it's compact, it's easier to transport, and it doesn't rot as quickly. Now, for the issue of how much is there, so we only want 1% of it. Now, granted, that's fine for now, but how many power plants start to come up before that 1%, power plants are taking up 80%, 90% of that material, and then we're in a position where we have to fight with these other power plants for that material. So we respond to that by getting in early. The program under which we choose to operate limits the amount that any one provider can actually produce, the amount of electricity that any one provider can actually produce, and also limits the total amount of renewable electricity provided from any one source. So there is definitely a cap to how much demand from electricity producers, at least, can come in the form of from palm stems. I hope I've been able to address that a little better.
Why don't you sell your chairs to the plantation owner and make them as partners to lower the risk instead of coming to us?
The pulverizer. That's so. That's looking more and more likely. That will be the direction that we're going in. Do you want to?
Well, basically, coming to VC people, you're looking for the returns, but you also need to believe in the idea. The guys who you are mentioning, the plantation owners, they don't like risk, right? They don't like risk at all. They want proven technology, then only they will get into it. Those guys may be will be the 70% later, with more and more looking like it, but we feel...
Sorry, our time is up. Thank you very much, Team Lorax. We'll take a short break. The next team coming up is Team Flue Tubes from Nanyang Technological University from Singapore. So could you please set up your equipment? Thank you.